She got up from the table and walked with a particularly elegant motion of her hips, the kind that looks like a gliding stride, as if the floor wasn't really necessary, as if she could simply rise from the surface any time she chose. The view of her from behind was the kind of vision that men look forward to seeing again and again once they have experienced it. The skirt was neither tight nor loose. Tailored is the perfect way to describe it, a combination of material, style, and fit that is rare now that slovenliness has become the ideal, and that does not apply here. She paid dearly for her ease of motion. It took more effort than most people realized. She took classes to improve her strength and her simplicity of motion. But at times like this, it was worth it. She knew men watched her, and women too. It thrilled her. It gave her a sense of power that belied her usual reserved personality and style. Jeb smiled, nodded slightly as he watched and recalled how he had managed to get a dinner date with Joanne. He was particularly attracted to her long legs. He found her at one of the companies he visited in his sales job. It had taken a lot of nerve, a slow approach, building a friendship carefully, steadily, no pressure, no threat. 6 months, which for him was a lifetime. His style was usually fast, blunt, in your face. Take me as I am. He knew his rough, good looks and his energy were appealing to a particular type of woman, the kind he usually ended up with, the kind he liked. So this, the deliberate, careful, considerate friendship relationship building, was very different and was such a classy chick. It felt strange, but good, the restraint, the treatment of a woman as something of value, not something to be used. As soon as she disappeared into the hallway leading to the ladies, Jeb walked quickly to the men's room. It was a high quality, clean smelling, well appointed, and wonderfully tiled refuge. He felt strong and special as he entered. He walked purposefully to the first urinal. He reached for the zipper, and to his amazement, his fingers touched something unfamiliar. He looked down and he almost jumped with surprise and embarrassment. His fly was already unzipped, but more, the tail of his blue Oxford shirt was sticking out. Fortunately, it was only showing slightly, but against the charcoal gray trousers, it was a beacon. He quickly finished, thoroughly washed and dried his hands, carefully checked himself, then returned to the table. Easing into the seat, he refilled his glass with the fine Cabernet he had splurged on. He furtively checked his cell phone. It was on vibrate, and he noticed he had a call, and he recognized the number. His pulse quickened. Perhaps Joanne hadn't noticed the zipper. Please. She left the stall after carefully smoothing her skirt, checking her blouse, and making sure there was no toilet paper stuck to her shoes, or worse yet, well, her skirt tucked into her pantyhose. She gracefully moved to the wash basin and carefully washed and dried her hands. Then she began the process of checking her hair. It was perfect after a quick touch with a comb. Her makeup, a gentle hint of blush, and then she surveyed the overall effect, and she smiled. It's exactly what she wanted to portray. Jeb was not her usual type, but he had a mystery to him that she found exciting, dangerous. He wondered if she had noticed his zipper and the shirt tail. He doubted that she had. She wasn't the kind of woman that would be looking at his crotch. Unless all of them are. Then he thought, perhaps she did. Would that be so bad? It wasn't exactly like he was trolling. There was nothing serious showing, simply a little touch of final grooming that had gone awry. And if she had noticed, who knew? Perhaps she saw it as a message. Subliminal. But there, almost pure and unintended, but there. He smiled again. Hey, a win-win. His smile broadened, but he sensed that her visit to the ladies was taking a little long. Part of the cost of a high-maintenance woman. Joanne took a couple steps away from the basin, then turned back. One last check to ensure the perfection she knew was easily within her reach. Perhaps some lipstick had stained her even, brilliant white teeth. She opened her lips carefully. Her eyes opened wide, and to her horror, strikingly visible in her front teeth, a large portion, rather larger than she could have thought possible, a clear dark green remnant of the spinach salad she had enjoyed so thoroughly. The heat immediately pulsed from her skin. The red began from her neck and rushed up to her forehead. She could feel the heat throbbing, the glow so strong that she almost fainted. She staggered back, afraid she would fall, but her excellent conditioning saved her. She ran back into the stall, the one she had just vacated so recently, and so proudly she began to cry faintly at first, then deeper sobs as the enormity of her gaffe became clear to her. Her entire life had been protected and clean and safe. Now she was working and things were different. True, this was not nearly the magnitude of shame that Jim Baker and Richard Nixon and Jerry Sandusky experienced, but for her it was just too much. She also remembered that he put his hand on her knee, briefly, perhaps unintentionally, but his intention was clear and it seemed like something he was accustomed to doing. She also caught him peeking at his cell phone. How rude. Then, too, she thought about some of the things that he wanted to talk about. He said he had read a research report about whether men preferred women with redder genitalia. He even said it had a name. Sexually salient hypothesis, my God. Then he wanted to talk about a book called 50 Shades of Grey. Something else bothered her. He seemed to have his fly unzipped. Unzipped and something was sticking out. She couldn't face him again. She had to get out of here. She ran from the ladies' room down the hall and out into the parking lot. After 15 minutes, Jeb had started to become concerned. He knew that a woman as special as Joanne would take time in checking her makeup and hair. After half an hour, he wondered what had happened. Perhaps she had seen his open fly after all. He wondered, did he do her so anything that she would have found inappropriate or crude? Nothing that he could recall. His cell phone vibrated in his pocket again, and it felt good. He checked to see who it was. Sam, that was short for Samantha, sent him a photo of herself. Sam was great, available when he wanted, and at times Sam initiated things like tonight. He quickly paid the waiter, then he took a small piece of paper, wrote something on it, folded it up, and slipped something inside. The note said, "Tired of waiting, take a cab." And he had slipped a $20 bill and wrapped a toothpick inside.
Ron Pickett, everybody. Big hand for Ron Pickett.